Have you ever looked at someone else and wondered why they seem so confident while you're still questioning yourself? Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt smaller, quieter, less important, without anyone saying a single word to you? It's not always loud, it's not always obvious. Sometimes it's just a feeling, a quiet belief that somehow other people matter more than you do, that their opinions carry more weight, that their needs are more valid, and yours can wait. You might smile, you might function normally, you might even appear strong to others, but inside, there is a constant pressure, a constant voice analyzing everything you do, questioning everything you say, asking, was that wrong? Was I too much? Was I not enough? And over time, you begin to shrink yourself without realizing it. You hesitate to speak fully, you hesitate to take up space, you hesitate to trust your own voice. What makes this pain even harder is that you cannot always explain where it came from. There was no single moment that broke you. It was 1,000 small moments. Moments when you were overlooked. Moments when your feelings were dismissed. Moments when you felt like you had to earn love instead of simply receiving it. And slowly, your nervous system learned something dangerous. It learned that your worth is conditional, that your value depends on how useful, how perfect, or how acceptable you are to others. This belief does not just live in your thoughts, it lives in your body. It shows up in the way you apologize too quickly. It shows up in the way you overthink small mistakes. It shows up in the way you struggle to accept compliments, but easily accept criticism. And even when people love you, even when they care about you, there is still a part of you that feels replaceable. A part of you that feels like you have to keep proving yourself over and over again just to deserve the space you already occupy. Living without healthy self-worth is exhausting because no matter how much you achieve, no matter how much you grow, there is always a quiet fear that it could disappear, that people could leave, that you could fail, that you could be exposed as someone who was never enough to begin with. And so you push yourself harder, you become stronger for everyone else, you become reliable, you become independent. But rarely do you stop and ask yourself one important question. Not, am I doing enough? But, why do I believe I am not enough? This is where the truth begins. Your self-worth was never meant to be something you fight for. It was never meant to be something fragile or conditional. It was shaped by experiences you did not choose. It was shaped in environments where your emotional needs may not have been fully seen, fully understood, or fully held. And without realizing it, you adapted. You became hyper-aware. You became careful. You became someone who learned to survive emotionally, even if it meant abandoning parts of yourself. But survival is not the same as self-worth. Survival teaches you how to stay safe. Self-worth teaches you how to feel worthy of existing. And the most important thing you need to understand is this: there was never anything wrong with you. The doubt you carry was learned. The fear you carry was learned. The feeling of not being enough was learned. And anything that was learned can be unlearned. Building healthy self-worth is not about becoming more impressive. It is about finally seeing yourself clearly. It is about ending the invisible war you have been fighting against yourself for years. It is about realizing that your worth was never missing. It was only buried under years of silence, conditioning, and emotional neglect. And the moment you begin to rebuild it, everything changes. Not because the world changes, but because the way you see yourself changes. And that changes everything. When you grow up without consistently feeling valued for who you are, you begin to develop an invisible habit. You begin to look outside yourself to decide how you should feel inside. You observe people's reactions. You analyze their tone. You notice the smallest changes in their behavior. And without realizing it, Their responses begin to define your sense of worth. If they are warm, you feel safe. If they are distant, you feel anxious. If they are critical, you feel diminished. Your emotional state becomes dependent on external signals rather than internal stability. This is not because you are weak, it is because your nervous system learned that connection and acceptance were not guaranteed. It learned that love could be unpredictable, and when love feels unpredictable, the brain becomes hypervigilant. It starts scanning for signs of rejection, even when rejection is not present. This creates a constant background tension. Even in calm moments, part of you remains alert, preparing for emotional danger. Over time, this shapes how you see yourself. Instead of seeing yourself as inherently worthy, you begin to see yourself as conditionally acceptable. You feel worthy when you succeed. You feel worthy when others approve of you. But when you make mistakes or when someone withdraws, your sense of worth collapses quickly. It feels unstable, fragile, and temporary. This instability creates a deep emotional exhaustion because you are not just living your life, you are constantly managing the fear of not being enough. You are constantly trying to maintain a version of yourself that feels acceptable to others, and this creates distance between you and your authentic self. You begin to lose touch with what you truly feel, what you truly need, and who you truly are. One of the most painful consequences of low self-worth is that you begin to abandon yourself in small ways. You stay silent when something hurts you. You tolerate behavior that makes you uncomfortable. You prioritize other people's comfort over your own emotional safety, not because you want to suffer, but because part of you fears that asserting yourself might lead to rejection. And rejection, to a nervous system shaped by conditional acceptance, does not feel like a simple disagreement. It feels like emotional danger. This is why building healthy self-worth is not just a mindset shift. It is a nervous system shift. It is the process of teaching your brain and body that you are safe to exist as you are, that your needs matter, that your feelings are valid, that your presence does not need justification. At first, this can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, because when you have spent years questioning yourself, trusting yourself can feel unnatural. Your mind may resist it. It may tell you that you are being selfish. It may tell you that you are asking for too much. But these thoughts are not evidence of truth. They are echoes of past environments where your worth was not fully affirmed. The truth is, healthy self-worth changes the way you relate to yourself in moments of difficulty. Instead of attacking yourself for your mistakes, you begin to approach yourself with curiosity. Instead of saying, "What is wrong with me?" you begin to ask, "What do I need right now?" This shift may seem small, but it is transformative because it moves you from self-rejection to self-support. When you begin to support yourself emotionally, something important happens. You stop feeling like you are at war with yourself. Your mind becomes quieter. Your body becomes calmer. You begin to feel a sense of internal stability that does not depend on external validation. You begin to trust that even if someone misunderstands you, even if someone leaves, even if you fail, you will still be okay, because you are no longer abandoning yourself. This is the foundation of healthy self-worth. It is not perfection, it is self-loyalty. Self-loyalty means staying emotionally present with yourself even when you feel vulnerable. It means not turning against yourself in moments of pain. It means recognizing that your worth does not disappear just because someone else failed to see it. It means understanding that rejection is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of compatibility, timing, and emotional capacity. As this understanding deepens, your relationship with yourself begins to change. You stop chasing approval in the same way. You stop needing constant reassurance. You stop measuring your worth through other people's reactions. Instead, you begin to develop something far more powerful. you begin to develop internal validation. Internal validation is the ability to recognize your own worth without needing external confirmation. It is the ability to say, "I matter," even when no one else says it. It is the ability to trust your own emotions, your own needs, and your own boundaries. This does not make you distant or disconnected from others. It makes your relationships healthier, because when your self-worth is stable, you no longer need others to complete you. You no longer need them to constantly prove your value. You can connect from a place of wholeness rather than fear. And perhaps the most freeing part of building healthy self-worth is this. You begin to realize that you were never the problem. The problem was the belief you were taught to carry. The belief that your worth had to be earned. The belief that you had to become someone else to deserve acceptance. But your worth was never something you had to earn. It was something you had to remember. There is a version of you that exists beyond the doubt. A version of you that does not constantly question your value. A version of you that feels calm, grounded, and secure in your existence. This version of you is not created. It is uncovered. It emerges slowly as you stop abandoning yourself and start standing beside yourself. This process takes time because you are not just changing thoughts. You are changing patterns that have existed for years. Patterns that were built through repetition, through emotional experiences, through survival. But every time you choose to treat yourself with compassion instead of criticism, you weaken the old pattern. Every time you honor your feelings instead of dismissing them, you strengthen a new pattern. And slowly, something begins to change. The voice of self-doubt becomes quieter. The feeling of emotional safety becomes stronger. You begin to feel more present in your own life, more comfortable in your own mind, more at home within yourself. You stop feeling like you have to prove your worth, because you finally begin to feel it. And when you feel your worth, you move differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. Not from fear, but from self-respect. You begin to understand that your worth was never fragile. It was only forgotten. There comes a quiet moment in this journey where something inside you begins to shift. It does not happen all at once. It is not dramatic. It is subtle. But it is powerful. It is the moment when you stop automatically believing every negative thought about yourself. The moment when you pause instead of immediately blaming yourself. The moment when you begin to realize that the voice that told you that you were not enough was never your true voice to begin with. For most of your life, that voice may have felt like truth. It may have sounded convincing. It may have shaped your decisions, your relationships, and your identity. It may have made you settle for less than you deserved. It may have made you stay in places where you felt invisible. It may have made you question your value, even when you were giving your best. But as your self-worth begins to rebuild, you start to see that voice differently. You begin to recognize it as something that was formed by past experiences, not present truth. This realization is freeing, because if that voice was learned, it can be challenged. And if it can be challenged, it can lose its power. You begin to notice the difference between your authentic self and your conditioned self. Your conditioned self is driven by fear. It seeks approval. It avoids rejection. It constantly tries to earn its place. But your authentic self is different. Your authentic self does not need to prove its worth to exist. It understands that worth is not something that can be given or taken away by others. It is something that exists within you, independent of external judgment. As you reconnect with your authentic self, your relationship with rejection begins to change. Rejection no longer feels like proof that you are unworthy. It feels like information. It feels like redirection. You begin to understand that not everyone is meant to see you fully, and that is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of alignment. This understanding protects your self-worth. It prevents you from internalizing every negative experience as a personal failure. You also begin to release the need to constantly compare yourself to others. Comparison loses its emotional grip on you, because comparison is rooted in the belief that your worth is relative, that someone else's strength makes you weaker, that someone else's success makes you less valuable. But healthy self-worth is not comparative. It is inherent. It does not increase when you succeed, and it does not decrease when you fail. It remains constant, regardless of external outcomes. This constancy creates emotional stability. You stop riding emotional highs and lows based on how others respond to you. You stop feeling inflated by praise and destroyed by criticism. You begin to see feedback as information, not identity. You begin to separate what you do from who you are. You understand that making a mistake does not make you a mistake. You understand that being imperfect does not make you unworthy. This shift changes how you show up in your life. You begin to express yourself more freely. You begin to set boundaries without excessive guilt. You begin to make choices based on what feels right to you, rather than what feels safest for others. This does not make you selfish. It makes you emotionally healthy. Because healthy self-worth allows you to honor yourself while still caring for others. One of the most profound changes that happens when you build healthy self-worth is that you stop abandoning yourself in moments of discomfort. In the past, you may have silenced yourself to avoid conflict. You may have ignored your needs to preserve connection. You may have tolerated emotional pain to avoid being alone. But now, you begin to understand that abandoning yourself is the deepest form of self-betrayal, and you begin to choose differently. You begin to stay loyal to yourself. Self-loyalty is quiet, but it is powerful. It is the decision to stand beside yourself, even when others do not. It is the decision to trust your feelings, even when they are inconvenient. It is the decision to recognize that your emotional safety matters. This loyalty creates a sense of internal security that cannot be taken away by external circumstances. As this security grows, you begin to feel less afraid of losing people, because you know that you will never lose yourself. And that changes everything. You begin to realize that the relationship you have with yourself sets the foundation for every other relationship in your life. When you value yourself, you naturally gravitate toward people who value you. When you respect yourself, you naturally distance yourself from environments that diminish you, not through force, but through clarity. You no longer chase connection at the cost of your self-worth. You no longer shrink yourself to fit into spaces that cannot hold you. You no longer question your right to exist fully and authentically. Instead, you begin to occupy your space with quiet confidence, not arrogance, not superiority, but grounded self-acceptance. You begin to feel at home within yourself. And perhaps the most healing part of this journey is realizing that you were never broken. You were shaped by experiences that taught you to doubt yourself. You adapted in ways that helped you survive emotionally. But survival was never the end of your story. Healing is. Healing is the process of returning to yourself. It is the process of unlearning the belief that you were not enough. It is the process of remembering that your worth was never missing. It was always there, beneath the doubt, beneath the fear, beneath the conditioning. And the moment you stop fighting yourself, the moment you stop trying to earn your own acceptance, the moment you finally allow yourself to exist without apology, you begin to experience something that may have felt unfamiliar for most of your life. Peace. Not because everything around you is perfect, but because your relationship with yourself is no longer built on rejection. It is built on acceptance. And from that place, your worth no longer feels fragile. It feels unshakable. Because you finally understand something that changes everything. You were never someone who needed to become worthy. You were always worthy. You only needed to see it. If this video spoke to something inside you, I want you to remember this. Your self-worth is not something you have to prove. It is something you return to. Every time you choose to stop doubting yourself, every time you choose to treat yourself with kindness, you are rebuilding the relationship that matters most, the one you have with yourself. Healing does not happen overnight, but awareness is where everything begins. And today, by simply being here, by listening, by reflecting, you have already taken a powerful step toward reclaiming your worth. If this video resonated with you, let it be a reminder you can return to whenever you forget your value. Subscribe to Her Psyche for more psychology-based insights to help you heal, grow, and reconnect with your true self. And before you leave, take a quiet moment and remind yourself, I am not becoming worthy. I am remembering that I always was.